Hi, this is Michelle from Michelle Kane Actions, and on this video tutorial I'm going to walk you through the steps that I took to create this backlit image, and I'm going to show you this is the edit, and here's where I began with this picture. So the things that I won't be covering in this video are how I took out all of these little stray hairs here in the picture. If you look at the final edit, I have gone in there and taken those out. I just found them very distracting in the picture, and you would want to use the patch tool or the clone stamp tool or a combination of the both of those to remove those stray hairs. But everything else I'm going to show you how I achieved this look using the Michelle Kane Actions. So first things first, I want to bring back some of the detail in the face that's been lost, and so I'm going to start with a half light action called Vitality. And Vitality is really ideal for really orange backlit pictures, usually shot at sunset when you get that really incredible orange coloring to your picture. It brings back detail, but in this case we don't have that orange happening in the picture, so I want to go ahead and open up Vitality, and there's a white balance fix folder in there, and we want to just turn that off, and that brings back the warmth into the picture that she needs in her skin. But everything else I'm going to leave as is, and I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 60% opacity, which is what it plays at. And then again from half light, there's an action called Vim, and I'm going to take Vim and basically amp up the entire action to 100%, but then I'm going to invert this layer mask. So Command or Control I on the keyboard will do that. I'm going to grab a white brush for this black layer mask here, and about a 20% opacity, and I'm just going to begin to paint in Vim into the facial area of the picture and a little bit down onto the arms and hands here. This is going to bring back a lot of detail in the eyes that I was missing before. Really get in there on those eyes because that's what is really speaking to us in this picture, and we want to have all that detail in the image there. If I go too far, of course, I can switch my brush color to black and just paint out the Vim. So once I have Vim painted in there, I want to soften up the background and not make it so full of contrast. And an action from the Half Light collection I like is Darling. And Darling, as you can see, if we turn it on and off, it really makes the greens a really pretty green and really kind of dulls down the background, but it doesn't work for the skin. So I'm just going to take a low opacity black brush this time and start to paint this off of her skin. So we're basically just having Darling on the background, and I'm going to leave Darling at 50% opacity where it plays. And the next thing I want to do is just zoom in a little bit, and we're going to play Flawless Face. Now she has absolutely gorgeous, perfect skin, but I'm just going to smooth it out just a tiny ounce. And Flawless Face is from the Heart and Soul collection, and it'll take just a minute to run here. A little side note, you should see it in a little stop message on newer versions of Flawless Face that you should run this on an 8-bit image instead of a 16-bit image in order to keep the speed up there. Otherwise it will take forever to run. So again, remember to play it on a 8-bit image. Once Flawless Face is finished running, I'm going to grab a 40%, actually I'll grab a 30% opacity brush, white brush for the black mask, and I just begin to kind of paint this in on the skin. It's a very light application, it's not going overboard, and again, it's not like I'm trying to smooth her skin or fix her skin, I'm just creaming it out just a little bit, so this gives more of an ethereal look to the image. Once I get the skin done, I'm going to come in and amp up my brush to about 60%, and I'll just play it on the background here. And that just, again, adds to the additional creaminess that we see in the background. Once Flawless Face is played, I'm going to darken up these little circles under the eyes here that we see. It's just the way that the light hit as I was shooting. So I'm just going to play DIY Dark, and that is in the Heart and Soul collection. And I'm just going to grab a 10% opacity white brush and basically just add in a little bit of darkness here. You can use the patch tool if you want to. I found that in using the patch tool, I ended up kind of changing the texture of her skin a little bit, which I didn't want to do. I want to keep her texture real nice and even and just darken up those areas, but not change how her skin looks. Let's click this on and off so we can kind of see how it darkened up those little spots that were underneath her eyes. Now I'm going to just take my opacity of that down a little bit and kind of work it up so it kind of fades into the opacity that I need, somewhere maybe around 75%. Once I have that played, I'm going to play a new action. It's not yet released as the time of this video is coming out. It's called Drab to Fab. You can also play another base action such as Bland to Brilliant, or you could use something like Dull to Dazzling, both in the Creative Heart set. You could use Spicy from Botanical Blends. You could use a number of the different base actions that are in the Half-Light collection for this, but I really am loving Drab to Fab. And Drab to Fab is just kind of, again, a base action. What I consider a base action would be light, contrast, clarity, all of that kind of stuff into one action. So if we click on Drab to Fab, you're going to see that it lightens up the picture quite a bit. So I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to actually just turn off the lighten up layer. And I'm also going to come in here to the Fabulous Boost, and with a black brush on this Fabulous Boost layer inside Drab to Fab, I'm just going to take some of this boost off the background. And I just want this to stay a little bit lighter. I feel like the background's getting a little dark. I'm going to come back up to this lighten up layer, and I think I'm going to turn it on. I didn't do this in my original edit, but just looking back now, I'm going to turn it on, but I'm only going to amp it up about 14, maybe 10% actually here, 11%. And I'm going to invert this layer mask. So Command or Control I. So you can see these actions have a lot of capability in them for adjustments. You can go in there and selectively use the lighten up layers, selectively use the boost layers. So what I've done here is I've turned on the lighten up, and it's only showing up at about 11% opacity just on her face here. So if we turn this little eyeball on and off, you can see how I just painted that barely onto her face. And we're going to close down the Drab to Fab before we play the next action. So what I want to do is add in just a little bit of a cooler, funkier tone to the picture. So from the Creative Heart set in the tone section, there's one called Cosmic Ray. And when Cosmic Ray plays, it defaults to 65%, and I think I'm going to just boost that up just a little bit more to 70%. And you can see in the shadow areas it created this blue effect here, and I really like that on the picture. In the skin, it added a little tiny bit of warmth. It's kind of hard to see, but it's there just a little bit, and I think that looks pretty good. Now I want to create like a warm softness, like a buttery softness. And I'm going to go ahead and pick Willow, and this is from the Botanical Blends. And when Willow plays, I want to lower this opacity down quite a bit from 70 to about 27, 28, somewhere in there. And I think I'm just going to slightly take this off the face just a little bit. So again, using my black brush and my layer mask, I'm going to grab a brush, B on my keyboard for brush, and maybe like a 20% opacity. And I'll just take Willow off the face, just an ounce, especially around the eyes, just because it adds that softness in there. I want to go ahead and keep those eyes nice and punchy. Now what I want to do is come in here, and I'll zoom into the face, and we can see that her under eyes and around the top of her eyelids have some red tones in it, and I think the skin needs a little bit of red, but we also need to remove a little bit of this just because it looks a little too pinkish. So the action I'm going to use is Minimize Magenta, and this is in the Half-Light collection. And I'll zoom this out so you can see the before and the after. You can see that it's really taken a lot of that magenta tone out of the picture, but it's kind of made the entire picture very, very cool. And so what I want to do is just go ahead and kind of bring back some of the warmth into the face here. So I'm going to, with a black brush and a 50% opacity brush, just take off some of this Minimize Magenta around the lips and a tiny bit just on the balls of the cheeks there, the apples of the cheeks. And I'll put some of this magenta tone back into the sweater and maybe the hair and maybe just the top of the picture. So now the minimized magenta has really helped with the skin, and I can come back to this if I need to and adjust it as I get to the end of the edit and decide if I need more warmth or more magenta into the picture. And as I click it on and off, I think I'm also going to come down in here and just take a little bit of it off the edges. I kind of like them to have that little bit of pinkish warmth into that bluish color that we've got going on. So just to finish it off, I'm just going to intensify the eyes a slight bit. I'll zoom in once again on the eyes here. And I warn you to use caution when using something like Gorgeous Green Eyes or Blue Eyed Beauty. These are in the Heart and Soul set. And you want to use about a 5% opacity brush. That's a tiny percent opacity. And I'm just going to come in here and add in the green. She's already got very gorgeous green eyes. I'm just adding a tiny bit on top of that. So if I click this on and off, in the video you may not even be able to see the change, and that's perfect because we want to go very careful with adding in any kind of eye color. I'm also going to play Blue Eyed Beauty, and I'll grab again a 5% opacity brush, and just where I see little blue flecks just in the top and the bottom of her eyes, I'm just going to add that in. And I'm just going to give a little sharpen to the eyes, so I'll play Sparkle from the Heart and Soul. There's also a variety of sharpening actions throughout my collections. You can pick the one that works well for your pictures. So I'm going to come in here with Sparkle with about a 40% opacity brush and just swipe it over the eyes once or twice. And nowhere else in the picture. I just want the eyes to be nice and sharp. Finally, I'm going to zoom out here, and let's just kind of take a look back at the before and the after. The last couple things I want to do is just give an overall kind of pinkish brightening to the picture. So Tryst is what I want to play from the Half Light collection, and this just gives a nice little light pink touch to the picture. It defaults at 80%. I think I'm just going to drop that down just a tiny hair. Somewhere around 40, maybe 43. We can see the pinkness it brought into the picture. And I think with Tryst, I'm going to go ahead and grab my brush, my black one, so we can cover some of this pinkish tone up on the edges, because I kind of like it just a little bit more on that blue side. I don't want to make it too pink and purple on that side. So something along this line. And then I'm going to play Blossom as well. I love to play Blossom on skin at the very end of my edits, just to kind of give it that overall final pinkish tone that's just pretty. It's just realistic and pretty. And as I click this on and off, Blossom defaults at 50, and I like that, but I'm just going to go in with a 50% opacity brush again, just to cover it up. So I'm not adding any pink tone over the top of the green eyes so that they stay nice and green. If there's anything else that's a little too pink in the picture, I would go ahead and remove it off of that as well. And again, if I need to come back to this minimized magenta layer and adjust that at all, if I turn it off, you can see her skin does get pretty magenta. Turning it on, it kind of cools that out just a little bit. And I think that was good where I left it. If I needed to come back, I have all these layers intact. I certainly could come back and make that adjustment, but I like it as is. So in looking back at the final, or at the original, I should say, here's where we started. We had a lot of detail missing in the face and the eyes, but just this glorious light that's kind of shining over the top of her. And that is all natural light, by the way. That is sunshine just coming in with a reflector, lighting up the, from underneath her face here. So here's our final edit. Something very ethereal and light, and I think just really special. I hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial on how to bring back details in a backlit picture using the Michelle Kane actions. For more information on these actions, you can visit my website, michellecanephotography.com. Thanks everyone for watching, and have a blessed day.